Hi, I'm Astrologer Penny Dix, and hello, Christine. I think you may be one of the only people here at the moment, but um, we'll we will we will soldier on. Oh no, there's four so far. So hello to the other three. And I didn't expect a huge turnout tonight because I do know it's a midweek and show, and of course it's just before Easter, so people are going to be busy. Also, for America and Canada and the West Coast, it's early in the morning and people go to work. But anyway, for those of you that are here, welcome and happy April Fool's Day. I have absolutely nothing funny to say, except that what can I say? Fools will not be suffered gladly in the month of April. So, hi, Simi, you're here. Good to see you. So, in fact, what I would actually say is that April is a month where foolish people won't do very well at all, because the key thing I think about April, and I'm going to go through the main bullet points of the transits in April, because as you know, because you've heard me and many other astrologers talking about the relevance or importance of the month of April 2026, because we have a build-up of 7 main cosmic bodies in Aries, especially at the new moon on the 17th. And we also have a lot going on the planet. And I think the important thing is it's not so much just about the build up of planets in Aries, but 2 of them are massive outer planets that only meet every 36 years, in Neptune, whom of course has just left Pisces, the sign it rules, and Saturn, also not very comfortable in the sign of Aries. So, and these two combined together can bring extraordinary change. So, hello, jealous of my pudding. Good to see you here. And Helena, good. And we've got Christine and Simi. It's lovely to see a few of you here. But I know the rest of you will watch this in catch up. So I know you are here in spirit. So welcome to all of you too. So what can I say? I want to say a little bit about how April is in general, but also a little bit about how things might unfold with what's going on in Iran, and whether it's going to escalate or not. So I think on a personal level, if we think about our own lives and those things that we're trying to do and achieve, April isn't necessarily a month about getting it right first time. I think it's about discovering what works, what fits, what is true through the action we take, and adjusting our actions accordingly. So, hello, Amanda. Good to see you. And I think from the geopolitical point of view, with regards to what's going on with Iran, and certainly we know that our, terrible toddler having tantrums in the White House because they won't let him build his ballroom, or at least not at the moment. Did we all go, yes, that'll teach him? Maybe it's an April Fool. I don't know. I don't think so. I think they were quite serious about that. But I think that the toddler today, from what I can gather listening to the news, is basically he's saying he's had enough. He's bored. And of course, there is the potential launch of the Artemis rocket later on today or tonight, tomorrow morning, wherever you are on the planet, which coincides with the full moon in Libra. So that is because from a physics point of view, that is the best time for any rocket going to the moon to be directed and use the gravity of the moon to pull it so it can swing round. So that's part of why it's going with the full moon. And hopefully, because it is a Libran full moon, it gives some stability, blessing, and balance to this particular enormous event. And hello, Pollyann. You're Northern New Brunswick, Canada, and it looks like you're having a cup of coffee or a cup of tea, and you're crossing your fingers. Well, that's great. And I think that so what I'm hearing out of the oval room and the toddler is that he's got fed up playing with his toys. So it looks like he's probably going to find a way to exit quickly and basically leave Europe and the Middle East to clean up his mess. But didn't we say that this is quite likely what would happen? And see me, Penny, Canada is constantly being criticized for being unfair to the US for our citizens buying Canadian goods. Well, if they're made in Canada, why shouldn't you buy them? That's not being unfair to America. That's him being greedy. And Amanda, you think it's mad they are sending a rocket to the moon? What a waste of money, just your opinion. Well, it's certainly a lot of money, and it certainly would be a bit of a heads up for the toddler saying, yippee, I managed to get this rocket round the moon. So he'd be quite pleased with that, which is probably part of why it's happening. Christine, the worst thing is starting a war, then possibly leaving everyone else to sort out his mess and abusing everyone in the process. I mean, you're absolutely right, Christine. And the way he has talked about Europe, the Middle East, the UK is absolutely, it's actually just rude. And you know what? He wants to pull out of NATO. Good. Let him. Off you go, toddler. So I think with this geopolitical situation, April suggests from the astrology a period of reactive and unclear actions, which is interestingly what has happened today, followed by moments of restraint and recalibration, where initial moves may lead to be corrected as fuller realities emerge. I think we're going to see continued tension and uncertainty, but I don't feel, because of Saturn's presence, I don't feel there's going to be immediate full escalation. I just don't feel that. I think we're going to see things move quickly, unexpectedly, but not always with full clarity, because of course Neptune is creating this fog and mist. And then we might see a moment where these actions meet reality and have to be adjusted. Well, that's very much, I think, what has been going on with him. So we've got this full moon. It's tonight and tomorrow, depending what part of the planet you're on. So for all of you in America and Canada, it's on the 1st of April. And hello, Simi, what are you saying? You just had the American ambassador and his other counterparts saying we should just forget about our sovereignty and just become the 51st state. This is a constant comment that we're so tired of. Oh my God, he doesn't give up, does he? Dear God. Oh gosh, well, I don't think he's going to get what he wants because, just because he asks doesn't mean he gets it. A full moon in Libra. Let's just have a look at this briefly, as we're in the energy of it now, we can see what's out of balance. I think that's certainly clear on the world stage. I mean, it was interesting today listening to Sir Keir Starmer, the Prime Minister of England, talking about the situation with Iran and being very diplomatic about America. And basically, what was coming out of what he was saying was that because the UK had Brexit a few years ago, that actually has put us into a really weak position geopolitically. And that now, because of the situation in the Middle East and the oil situation, he is looking to forge more contracts with European allies, which I just thought it's like it's going full circle. And that is just so interesting. Christine, see me when he takes his last breath. Yes, exactly. Christine, there is a time limit before resources become depleted. Some say jet fuel will be exhausted by May. They say it won't be exhausted. This was what I heard today, Christine, from an airline boss. It won't be exhausted, but it could be getting very depleted. And they don't see that they will have to take any serious action as yet. I think it's really seeing what happens over the next 2 to 3 weeks. So I think with this full moon in Libra, we're seeing clearly where the balance is lost, where it's the moment where something becomes visible and we have that emotional realization of what's really going on. And I think just to remind you of this full moon, we have a T-square between the moon in Libra, Jupiter in Cancer, and the sun in Aries. And Mars is still towards the end of Pisces. It doesn't go in to Aries till later this month, well, next week actually, but I'll come to that in a minute. Let me go through bit by bit so we don't lose the thread of the bullet points of April, because it is such a powerful month. I don't want us to get caught down rabbit holes. I think it's worth saying, because it's Easter weekend, and it'll be interesting to see what unfolds, whether everything just stops for 3 days, because it's not just Easter. I think it's also the Jewish Passover. So there are other areas where a holiday is in place. But I was thinking about Good Friday, because if you think about it, this is when Christ basically sacrificed himself for humanity. But if you take it out of religion and into symbolism, it's not really about punishment or suffering, but that's how it's taught. It's actually, if you take it symbolically, to do with the psyche, it's about surrender of the ego, letting something go, letting something die, and trusting that unseen process, which is very much the symbolism as well of this full moon in Libra. So it's like, I let go even when I don't understand what comes next. So then we move on to the 9th of April, when Mars will enter Aries. Now, this is when, make the most of the next few days, because this is the sort of the few days before we get the build up to the mega big energy in Aries, because when Mars moves into Aries, I think, we're going to have this sense of urgency. We want action. We'll have less tolerance. We'll be more reactive. We will be we will act very instinctively. And it's because it's raw energy. It's so powerful, so assertive. Let's use the word assertive. And Mars, remember, is going to be conjunct Neptune, Saturn. It's going to move through all the planets that are in Aries. So when Mars enters Aries, and I even noticed it interestingly today, and I'm curious to know how some of you might have felt today, because even though I didn't sleep particularly well last night, probably because there's a full moon hovering around, I feel very energized today. In the last few days, I felt very flat, but now I've become energized and I've been proactive and really kind of wanting to get into it and get up and do this and do that. And let me see what Seam is saying. Americans complain about paying $4 a gallon for gas. It's over $8 a gallon or $1.88 a litre in Canada. And we supply the States with 40 billion barrels a day. I love it. Oh, 4 million. Okay. But it's interesting because, yes, in England, I think it's gone up to 182 a litre, and which is sterling. So it probably equates to about the same. Yes, absolutely. What a good idea, Christine. Christine's saying, could Canada divert that supply elsewhere? Yes, please. Can we have it over here in Europe, please? So once Mars enters Aries, which is next Thursday, things are really going to start speeding up. Now, the transits I'm going through are the main ones. There are other transits, but I will come to them when I do the midweek astrological forecast, as well as the Sunday forecast. So first of all, on the 13th, we've got Mars conjunct Neptune. So this is where we could say action meets uncertainty. So you can apply that to your own life. You can apply it to what's happening geopolitically. But it's about taking action without fully seeing what the outcome might be or understanding the consequences. This is Mars conjunct Neptune, Mars action, raw action, Neptune, confusion, delusion, illusion, uncertainty. It could be misdirected action. So this is the 13th, okay? Courage, but it comes through a fog. And with the geopolitical situation, it's like unclear motivations. Actions based on perception, not fact. And I think that's been the problem with the lack of strategy that it appears the American administration has, or rather doesn't have, that there's a potential for miscalculation because of the actions that are based on perception, not fact. I mean, Iran is still saying, basically, we're not having deep talks with America. It's saying there may have been one or two brief conversations, but nothing like the toddler is implying. Kiki Law, hello. Your massage therapist voted for Sprayton Satan and just raised her price by $20. Not fair. Absolutely not. My God, that's terrible. Let's move on to the 15th of April, because Mercury then enters Aries. So now we're really getting this build up of energy. So we've got Mars, Mercury. By the 15th, we've got Mars, Mercury, the Sun, Saturn, Neptune, Chiron, all in Aries. Venus, remember, has moved into Taurus. I had a slip of the tongue yesterday when I recorded the month ahead with the 12 zodiac signs, because I think I said something about Venus is still in Aries, and then it moves into Taurus in April, but it's not. It's already in Taurus, okay? So just to clarify that. So once Mercury enters Aries, fast thinking, fast talk, direct communication, reactive words, less filtering, decisions made quickly, on the hoof. And I think that by the 15th is when, if there are talks going on or they're behind the scenes, they may achieve more. They may actually bring something more into our understanding of what's going on. Christine, the toddler has gone rogue. He needs to be put in the naughty cupboard. Yes, and the key and the door locked and the key thrown away. Manuela, hello, my lovely. Good to see you. Now, on the 16th of April, we have another interesting conjunction, because the Sun would be conjunct Chiron in Aries. So we've got the Sun, our identity, our ego, our sense of self, our soul, meets the vulnerability of the wounded healer, with maybe us feeling a bit hesitant. Maybe things have started to unfold in our lives and we're doubting it, and we're thinking, oh, I don't know if I can do this. Oh gosh, this all sounds a bit too much. Can I cope? It could be that kind of energy, and a sense that our personal soft spots get revealed, that, wounded bits of us come out when we don't want them to. But it can also be the courage we can gain through containment of that discomfort. And the Sun suggests that despite perhaps the insecurities that we might feel because of Chiron, that acting is okay. And remember, Chiron is also conjunct Eris, and she has similar qualities to Uranus in that she's rebellious. She wants freedom. She wants individuality and to be different and to not be left out. So there's something here about the need to feel included. Now then, so let's think. So at this point, on the 16th of April, we have Venus and Uranus in Taurus, Jupiter's in Cancer, and we have Pluto, of course, in Aquarius, and we have Mercury, Neptune, Mars, Saturn, the Moon, the Sun, Chiron in Aries. And this is just prior to the new moon. And what's interesting is that at this point we have a sextile between Pluto and Mars in Aries. That, well, it's action taken, maybe reckless action that one gets away with because it's a sextile. But it's like, oh, I flew a little bit too close to the sun with that action or decision. I need to pull myself back in a bit. We might see it out there as well. And I think that there is this also caveat with Mars in Aries, especially when it's conjunct the sun, Saturn, or the moon, that you have to be careful that we don't get too carried away with movement and hurt ourselves, especially when Mars eventually comes up to be conjunct Chiron, but that's not yet. So that can be accidents. Okay. Lady Y, my natal Chiron is in Aries. Does this get amplified for me? Most people, or many millions of people have Chiron in Aries because it moves very slowly. and it takes something like 50 years to go round the zodiac. So there's a whole few generations with Chiron in Aries. So it doesn't particularly amplify it for you. Most of us have been experiencing a Chiron return. And okay, that you're welcome, Lady Y. So Manuela, red suits me. Oh, thank you. It's a kind of sort of red and pink. It's a bit of a sort of, oops, and my little vest is showing. I'm showing my little vest because I cannot tell you, just a quick witter, how cold it is here. I am still with a blanket. It's April the 1st. Do you know it's a real feel of 3 degrees centigrade? That's like, I don't know, 44, 45 Fahrenheit. I'm supposed to be in the Mediterranean. It's supposed to be warm. And this weather is going on till potentially Sunday, Easter Sunday. It may get a bit warmer, but I've had the air conditioning on, which is pumping out heat. But as soon as you switch it off, the room just goes ice cold again. It does not retain the heat. Okay. Hello, sunshine. Happy to tune in today. The full moon energies are making me want to sleep and recharge more, but the ideas are bubbling at this time. You're writing more. That's really interesting, sunshine, because I've noticed I've been having the same creative flow coming through me. I've been scribbling away. And see me, the orange Palpatine bit off more than he could chew with him attacking Iran. Exactly. I think he'll get spanked pretty good from someone he least expects. I think that's a pretty good assessment. Imguari, you were just Googling what happened when Mars entered Aries in the last conjunction of Saturn and Neptune in Aries in the 1700s. Interesting. Okay. In the 1700s. Was that when we had the French Revolution? I don't know. Have a little look. See if there's a sort of a significant historical event that we would all resonate with, Imguari, because that would be really helpful. And Christine, same in Cyprus, never known it's so cold. It's ridiculous, isn't it? It's bonkers. We have thunderstorms. Normally we're in shorts by now. I know. I mean, I've got a vest on, I've got this. When I finish this, I'll go and put the electric blanket on in the bed to warm it up and basically take the dampness out of the sheets, because you get in, and like last night, it took me about an hour to warm up, even with the electric blanket. It was the War of the Spanish Succession. Oh, how interesting. Because it is interesting, because with all this energy of regime change, wherever, we just don't know where regime changes are going to take place over the next couple of years. This is not just something for 2026. This Saturn-Neptune energy is far-reaching. And, so I think we have to be aware of that. And you see, on the 17th, which is the same day as the new moon, Mercury will be conjunct Neptune. So we're going to get confusion in communication. So it'll be very interesting to see what's going on around the 17th and the new moon. It's a new moon in Aries, so it's an important one. Misinterpretation can come from that. And remember this, not just what we see out there, but what's happening in your own lives. Make sure that you're reading all the small print, all the fine print, because, Neptune will just make you glaze over and you won't see it. You won't see it for seeing it. And it can be intuitive insight, but also misinformation. So we might be hearing what we want to hear, not necessarily what's being said. So this new moon, well, it's we've got this Pluto squaring Mars with the new moon, which is going to be very what can I say, chunky. It's going to be quite potentially quite violent. Any aspects that Mars makes with Pluto are always going to be a little bit, have an edge of danger to them. But it is a sextile, so we have to be thankful for that. So it may be that actions taken, actually, whatever it is, it's a bit like I was saying earlier, that they get away with it. And I missed out, didn't I? Oh no, I did talk about the Sun conjunct Chiron. And let me just see what Imguari is saying. In 1703, Peter the Great founded St. Petersburg, which became Russia's window to the West. How interesting. Christine, it's your birthday on the 15th. Been wondering about what the alignment of all the planet means. And what did I say for the 15th? I'm just scrolling back. 15th, Mercury enters Aries. So, well, I just think this could be a phenomenally interesting year for you, Christine, because you've got Saturn and Neptune in your sign. You've got this new moon. You've got Mars. You've got Mercury. This will be your solar return. So if you know how to put that information into something like AstroSeek, see what it says for your solar return, because could be very interesting. Or ask, ChatGPT. You just have to make sure they give you the right information, because it's not always, you have to check up on these AI bots, because they don't always get it right. They're really good. I've kind of trained mine now to go to certain sites to get certain bits of information to help me with certain structures for videos I'm doing, because it just saves a bit of time. And because I'm an astrologer, it is purported, I know if something's wrong. So that has been very helpful. Now, moving on to this new moon. So we've got, it's like an instinctive new start. This is a raw new moon, raw beginning. It can be action, but we're still not quite certain as we take the action if it's going to be okay or not. But we feel very motivated and self-directed, kind of proactive. And it may be that we are really in the process of initiating something quite personal. And it's acting not because we're sure, but because we feel we have to act, that we have no choice. We feel compelled to act, even without full clarity. So it's not just about new beginnings. It's, I have to act, but I'm really not sure that it is the best direction to go in. But going back is not an option. So it's, yes, investigate, Christine. You should treat yourself to a session with me, and we could do your solar return. New moon. And that is when we have this real complex culmination of energy in Aries. After the 17th, it starts to diminish ever so gently. By the 19th, Mars is conjunct Saturn. So then, of course, we've got force, Mars, meets resistance. Frustration, blocked action, blocked Hormuz Straits, controlled aggression, discipline under pressure. So if there have been any escalations with the Iranian situation, I think it will reach a ceiling at that point, and there will be some restraint being shown. So there'll be tension between impulse and control. I think it's an important reality check moment when we get Mars conjunct Saturn. And let me just catch up with what you're saying. Do you know why, Manuela, do you know why there is adverts interrupting this live? I don't know. Look, I have to monetize because I need to earn to pay the bills. So I'm sorry, yes, there will be adverts. And it's the only way I can kind of keep everything else free. Because as you know, I don't have a private Patreon or membership currently. I may do that in the future because I may not get much choice. But I'm trying to make sure I give you as much free content as possible. And one of the prices one has to pay is the irritating input of adverts. And I know sometimes they seem to be every 2 seconds, and then other times they're not much there at all. So, see me. So restrain from impulse after being without for so long. Restrain from impulse. Well, I think it's just that we will be wanting to act, but we can't see the outcome because there is something so much about April, about the need to live with uncertainty. Christine, where do you see the Europeans' role in sorting this mess? Well, I do think that Europe and the UK will probably forge some kind of, I don't know, temporary alliance to manage this because it's clear he's just going to go and leave everything as it is. So I think we will have no choice. Manuela, no, it's okay. Just yes, I know it just pops into the live. And I've noticed the whole setup tonight of the live is different. So YouTube are always, updating and doing different things. And I'm looking for things and they're all in different places and I don't know where anything is. Now, on the 20th, the sun will enter Taurus. So now we're getting a slight easing of this Aries energy. So we've got this crescendo between about the 9th and the 17th of intense Aries energy, action, assertion, potentially aggression, escalation. But because Saturn is there, it's our saving grace. I think it acts as a leveler. I think it just puts some restraint and holds things from going completely over the top. So Sun will go into Taurus, grounding begins. Slowing down, stabilizing of energies, we can now focus on what's real and more tangible. So it goes from impulse to something more substantial. Also on the 20th, Mercury, our planet of communication, is conjunct Saturn in Aries. Now, this is going to bring in some very serious discussion, serious thinking, whether it's for you personally or whether it's in our geopolitical setting. Reality-based decisions are more likely to emerge at this time. Hard truths will have to be faced, maybe by the various countries involved in this general debacle. Disciplined communication can come, and the consequences become clearer. See me, the EU has loosely invited Canada to join, and a poll has suggested that 78% of Canadians support joining. Do you know, I think that's absolutely wonderful, Simi. I had heard that, and I really do think it's a lovely thing. I really do. Now, the next thing we need to look also on the 20th, Mercury will also then conjunct Mars. And so we've got Mercury communication in Aries, Mars that rules Aries, action, assertion, aggression, war, sharp words, decisive action. So we've got a real mismatch of energies. We've got Mercury conjunct Saturn and Mars conjunct Mercury. So there will be, I think there's going to be a lot of talk, an awful lot of discussion going on around the 20th, 21st. There can be arguments, directness, cutting through the CRAP, decisions voiced quickly. So it's really like we have to, it's a reality check. Mars, Saturn, Mercury, Saturn. We meet resistance and consequences at this time. So then, and see how much keeps continuing to unfold in April. And on the 24th, Venus, our planet of love and relationship in Taurus, will be at the anaretic degree of Taurus conjunct Uranus. And this brings sudden shifts in values, in relationships. We can get, excuse me, surprises in relationships, in love, in money. I think it could be quite good for the markets at that point. In fact, they've all been doing extremely well today. Do you know what? I think they've all said, you know what? Let's not take any notice of what the toddler says. Let's just do what we feel is best for the economies and for the world. Because, I mean, anyway, I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. Venus conjunct Uranus. I think we can free ourselves from attachments that have been holding us back. And where there's been instability, we get a breakthrough. So if there's been instability in relationships or with the situation that we're observing play out on the world stage, we get a breakthrough. And then we get on the 24th, Venus will enter Gemini. Gosh, so the tone will lift. There will be more thought, communication, curiosity in relationships. Communication will be very, very much center stage where relating is concerned. This can be business relating, leadership relating as well. There'll be more variety, more movement, less intensity and more flexibility because Gemini is mutable. And we have to get to the 26th. Uranus, our planet of shocks, the unexpected, innovation, invention, breakthrough, enters Gemini. We've been waiting for this. This is the last of those outer planets to take up its long-term position for the next few years in its new sign. We're now all fire and air. What does that tell us? Well, we're in the year of the fire horse. So this is going to be a major shift in communication. And remember, we had a taste of this last year when Uranus was in Gemini. But it's a new era of information. There's going to be rapid changes in technology, media, AI, all these chatbots. I think our thinking, the way we connect, will be disrupted. We wake up with new ideas, and through ideas that stimulate our mind, really inspire us. So it's almost like a revolution for the mind and a communication evolution. So this is where we have stabilized everything through Taurus, and now everything begins to change again. So if we just look very simply at what this month is about, and I did write something down if I can find it, and let me see. Actually, this is quite good. This is this is something I wrote down for when I do the new moon, which is, this isn't a calm new moon, which is the 17th of April, where we gently set intentions. This is a moment where something inside says, I have to act now. So it isn't about knowing what you're doing. It's about, and I think this goes for the whole of April, it's discovering who you are through what you do. And, it act when you feel moved to. Use your intuition, but stay aware that clarity may come after the action and not before it. And I just think that in general, we're going to see things move quickly, unexpectedly, but not always with full clarity. And then there'll be a moment where those actions meet reality and have to be adjusted. I'm just looking at what you're saying. Sarita, hello, good to see you. It tells you a need to do a lot of grounding this year. Christine, will Taurus affect the food supply now? Well, the sun's coming in there, so I would have thought that will help. And Venus is going through Taurus at the moment, remember? So I think that will help. So yes, there may be some restrictions. There may be some short-term shortages, but I just think this is one of those situations where we keep being brought to the brink, and then it goes back. And then it's like this again, and then, oh, we're back again. So it's a bit like we see things move quickly or unexpectedly, but we don't always see them move with that full clarity. But there will be a moment when those actions meet reality, then we have to do the adjusting. So it's a month of discovery through experience. And would you like to have my story? Because I've got a story. Because you remember I said, you said that's April. So we've done April. But I'm going to give you a story because I think I'm going to do it in two parts. Part one, I'm doing tonight. Part two will be on the Sunday live stream. And I felt this was a good story because it's a little bit more personalized, less focus on what's going on in the outside world, but much more about how we can use what is unfolding through April with the backdrop of a myth, and a myth about love. Because if there's one thing, stories are us. And, if there is one thing that we will always have, it is that love. And so the story is the story of Psyche and Eros. Many of you will know this story, but I'm going to tell it in the version I've got here. So, are you sitting comfortably? Then I'll begin. Okay, so once upon a time there was a king, and he had 3 daughters. But it was the youngest, Psyche, who drew the attention of the world. She was not merely beautiful, she was so beautiful that people began to worship her as though she were a goddess. Temples once devoted to Aphrodite began to stand empty as people came instead to gaze upon Psyche. And this could not be tolerated. Aphrodite, the true goddess of beauty and desire, felt her honor threatened. And remember, Aphrodite is Venus, our planet of love. Not because Psyche had done anything wrong, but because she had become visible in a way that disturbed the natural order. As I read this story, I want you to think of the metaphors that might reflect in your own life, in your own psyche, alongside parts of this story. Anyway, what Aphrodite did was she called upon her son, Eros, god of love. She gave him a task. She said, Eros, we have a problem. This girl, Psyche, well, the temples are empty. They're all going, oh, Psyche, she's so beautiful. Well, I'm fed up with it. I've had enough. I'm done. Go to this girl, please, Eros. Make her fall in love with something unworthy. Let her beauty become her downfall. Well, Eros, because he was a mummy's boy, he went to carry out his mother's will. And what had happened, she had been tied to a rock in the sea. But that's another bit of the story that I'll come to in a minute. But Eros goes to carry out his mother's will. But in that moment, as he approached her, something shifted. And he pricked himself on his own arrow. And when he laid eyes on her, he fell in love with her. So he didn't carry out the task. So let's just go back a bit to see what happened to Psyche as she goes through this. So basically what's happened, she's been chained to this rock by her father, who basically has said, well, Aphrodite is cross with us because you're too beautiful. So you've just got to be left to the elements. But the wind carries her away. And Eros makes his palace available in a beautiful woodland for her to be. And she becomes his kind of consort or wife. And so Psyche thinks, okay, so here I am. But Eros has made it very clear to her. As long as she does this one thing, and you know what it is with women, if you tell them not to do something, they're going to do it. There is this one thing she has to do, or rather not do, and the beautiful palace, him, everything will stay all beautiful and lovely. And what he tells her is she must not look at him. Oh, well, okay, she says, that can't be too difficult. I just won't look at you. But she lies with him every night in bed next to her. Anyway, she doesn't really think about it. Her life had been quite strange because men admired her and had worshipped her, but no one chose her. Her sisters were married and she was untouched and unclaimed. And basically, when her father takes her in this sorrowful procession to the mountain to be tied to, first of all, she thinks it's going to be a wedding feast, but it's not. It's just to be left on this rock to the elements. But she didn't resist it. And there's something in this moment of quiet acceptance, that stepping into the unknown. But the wind, Zephyrus, lifted her gently from the rock and carried her down into a hidden valley. And this is where, as I was explaining, she found this palace beyond any imagining, golden halls, soft voices, invisible attendants who cared for her every need. And at night, her husband came to her. He spoke gently. He touched her with tenderness. He loved her. But there was one condition. She must never look upon his face. Well, she knew this, so she did as she was told, and she lived in this strange, enchanted world, surrounded by beauty, deeply loved, yet unable to see. She was asked to trust what she could not verify. And that's something of what we're being asked to do through the month of April. And for a time, she was able to do that. But, the human heart is not so easily settled, is it? Don't we all know that? Loneliness returned, not from lack of love or beauty or this wonderful place she lived in, but the lack of certainty. She longed to share her life with her sisters, to be seen, to be understood. So she invited them over. But when they came to visit, they weren't comforted by her happiness. They were disturbed by it, and they whispered doubts into her ear. How often have we been in a new relationship and we are just flying, and along comes a well-meaning friend or a sister or whatever and says, well, it's not that great a place you're living in. Have you really looked at it? Look at the cobwebs up there in the corner, or that paint peeling down there. So the sisters started to sow these doubts into her and saying things like, what kind of husband hides himself? I mean, isn't that weird? They said to her. What do you mean he won't let you look at his face? And they're going, that's seriously weird. I mean, maybe he's a monster. Have you thought of that, Psyche? Have you thought maybe he is just the most ugliest, ghastliest creature on this planet? Maybe, they said, he just wants to destroy you and he's just biding his time. Well, I think there's an element of gaslighting somewhere around there. And slowly, of course, the seed of fear was planted. Oh, well, that night, it's horrible, isn't it? When someone has said something to us that makes us doubt what we really felt to be true, what we knew to be true, what we intuitively knew to be true. But we just can't help ourselves, can we? We have to poke it. We have to do something. And so that night, Psyche could no longer rest in trust. And as Eros, her husband, slept beside her, she rose quietly. She picked up the small lamp by the table and a knife, just in case he was a monster. And she lifted the light up of the candle to look at who he truly was. My God. He was the most beautiful being she had ever seen. She stood there, absolutely trapped in this gaze. And in that fragile moment of illumination, she saw him. Not a monster, not something to fear, but the most beautiful being she had ever known. And she didn't even realize it was actually really was Eros. And in that moment, the moment of seeing, everything changed. For as she gazed upon him, a drop of hot candle wax fell from the lamp onto his shoulder. He woke. And with that, the illusion was broken. The trust was broken. The world she had been given vanished. Eros looked at her, not with anger, but with something far more painful: disappointment. Love cannot live where there is no trust. And then he was gone. The palace faded, the voices disappeared, the warmth, the safety, the love, all gone. And Psyche found herself alone again, quite alone. Everything she had been given had been lost, not because it was false, but because she could not believe in it without seeing it. And this is where we're going to leave her for today, at that moment of loss, at the moment where love has been revealed and immediately taken away. Because the next part will be what happens next. So I'm going to conclude this story on Sunday in my live stream. But first of all, I just want to tell you about Psyche and Eros in the sky, because Psyche is an asteroid. They're not really used in astrology, but they exist. So Psyche was discovered in 1852. It's a large metallic asteroid, which is very unusual because usually they're iron and nickel. And it's in the main asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. So Psyche, symbolically or astrologically, is the soul, the part of us that seeks meaning through experience, vulnerability, longing, emotional depth, but also what must go through trials to become whole. Now, Eros was discovered in 1898, and he is a near-Earth asteroid and apparently comes closer to us than most, and was named after the god of love and desire. So symbolically, Eros is about desire, attraction, erotic pull, what draws us towards something or someone, the force that moves us out of ourselves. So you've got this wonderful contrast of Psyche, who receives, because the feminine receives, feels and undergoes, and Eros initiates, desires and reaches. Together you've got the meeting of soul and desire. So, the full moon is a little bit like Psyche lifting the lamp, the full moon in Libra. And the Aries new moon and Sun and Chiron and all the planets, I need to know, acting on impulse. Psyche doesn't wait, she acts. So it's about, I must see for myself. And I think that is quite atypical of Aries. And, it isn't just about relationships, it's about our relationship with uncertainty itself. Because we all recognize where we doubt something good, like it's too good to be true. We need proof. Or we lose, we lose something through fear, or we realize too late. But this is where, Psyche, the soul, does meet desire. And the learning to live with uncertainty, which I think is going to be tested in April. I do think it's going to be tested. And then it'll be May. Oh, that reminds me, don't forget that I've put up a Astro Witter, or a Wednesday astrological forecast, where I've looked at all 12 zodiac signs for the month ahead for April, and they're all time stamped. It's just about 5 minutes per sign, but I just thought, oh, actually, I felt like doing it. I thought this will be fun. I'll do this. So that's on my channel. It went up about 12 hours ago. Let me just see, because I've been missing all your comments. Susanna Secrets here. You're a bit late, never mind. Blue Heart, hello, my love. Parry, lovely to see you all here. And see me, just wait, Musk will destroy the astro belt by mining it for its minerals. God, very good point. So listen, guys, do you want a card for the month ahead? I think we'll just do one, because it's already, we've gone 5 minutes past the hour. So you can't wait to see what April will bring, Blue Heart. I don't think any of us can. I mean, it's certainly going to be interesting, that's for sure. So listen, I'm going to do one card, one tarot card for the month of April, and it's this one. Well, I think that depicts April very clearly, the Chariot. You said, Imagari, you hope I draw the star as your card, Penny. Oh, bless you, for good luck. Well, it's the Chariot. Things are moving fast, moving swiftly. Well, I think that is probably a pretty appropriate, card, the Chariot, for the month of April and for the sign of Aries, because yeah, I think things are going to be moving. And I think on an individual level, this is about us really tuning in and identifying our sovereignty, because I think it's important that we do stay connected to that sovereign self and not be swayed along with the crowd or what others think or believe. Be true to your beliefs and feelings. Yes, I've got my star earrings on, Imiguari, and my little star, my star. This star, because I'm going into Witter phase now, was my 21st. Oops, there it is. 21st birthday present from my parents. So it's very special, that. Yes, get hold of the horse reins. That's right, absolutely. And, here we go. So it is going to be a busy month. Remember, check out my full moon video for Libra, because the full moon, I'll be able to see it in a bit. It'll come up. It'll be, it's full on the 1st of April for America and Canada. But for Europe going east, it's not actually till the 2nd. It's after midnight tonight when the moon goes full in Libra. So, it's been lovely talking to you all. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe, super thanks, and hype, and all of those amazingly wonderful things. And if any of you watching are planning to go to Steve Judd and Penny Thornton's Amadown this weekend, have a wonderful time, because they're doing this wonderful 3-day conference, I think. I'm not going to that one. I'm going to the next one in May, Shifts Happen, which I'm looking forward to. Yes, see me, April. Hold on. It's going to be a bumpy ride full of surprises. Oh, I think it could be, yes. Parry, what we focus on and believe matters greatly. Everything matters and has effects that resonate out into the cosmos. This is so true. And it is about being true to your own sovereignty, to your beliefs, to your God, to your faith, to your sense of what is right. We all know on some level what that frequency is. And if enough of us are staying on that frequency of truth, of peace, of honesty and love, then it enables the rest to link in with that. And oh, you're welcome, Christine. Christine's saying thank you for tonight's live. I'm glad so many of you found it, because I did mention it on Sunday, but I know it's a funny time of day. But there are actually, I think, 40 or so of you watching. So that's brilliant. You're so welcome. So listen, I've got to go and feed my very hungry pussycats, or they'll be eating me, and feed myself. And then I hope I will see the lovely full moon rising. And fingers crossed the Artemis rocket, if it does launch tonight, gets off okay. And because it is very exciting. So let's hope that goes well, irrespective of who's the toddler in the Oval Room, or whatever it's called, I don't know, whatever, the Oval Office, that's it. You know, he can just go and play with his toys. We just put him out we could find a playpen, couldn't we? We could put him in a little playpen and he can play with his battleships. Oh dear, here I go. Witter, witter. Hello, rhubarb. Peace begins in each of us. Well said, Parry. I love you all, and Soul Fam. See you on Sunday. Right, I am going to go and, oh, that's funny. I can't see where it's not showing me where to stop. How weird is that? Oh, it's up here. They've moved it. Oh, God. Why do they have to move all the buttons? It was down the bottom. Oh, Manuela, thank you for the stories. You're so welcome. I'll have to do a channel that's just all about stories, just reading stories, won't I? When I get time with everything else. So, yeah, remember, part 2 of Psyche and Eros. Will the girl get her man? Da, 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 da. We will find out on Sunday. Okay, my loves, I'm going for now. Bye for now. Love you loads. See you soon. Bye. Bye.